Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2, Chapter 7.5 Cumulative Review. Remember to show all your steps. So, this is a combination of everything we've done from Chapter 7, 7.1 through 7.4. Some of those are going to be below. The key thing to remember is looking at what's in front of you. Okay, what's the equation or what's the expression? Okay, if it's an equal, that means we're going to need to solve. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve number 1. Now, the first thing we have to do is set everything equal to 0. So I am going to be looking for my leading coefficient, and I want to make sure that that stays positive. So I'm going to subtract the 5 and the 2k to the other side. Those cancel, and I'm left with 0 on the right side like we wanted to. We're left with k squared minus 49, and the 2k and the 2k cancel out. So I need to check, is there a GCF? No. Okay, so we're left with a quadratic binomial with subtraction, and yeah, that's right, it's a perfect square. So that means I can take the square root of both of those, and I know that the square root of k squared is k. One's a plus, one's a minus, and then the square root of 49 is 7. Now, everything with a variable we set equal to 0. So k plus 7 equal to 0, and k minus 7 equal to 0. Okay? And then we solve. So we would subtract 7, and we get that k equals negative 7. And then we add 7, and we get that k equals a positive 7. So my final answer is k equals negative 7 or positive 7. That's our final answer. But just remember, we also said that you could write that as k equals plus or minus 7, because it's saying the exact same thing. All right, number 2. So let's find our leading coefficient, the 4x cubed, and it's positive. So now I'm going to move everything over to the left side. I'm lining up my variables. Everything on the right cancels, and we're left with 0. And then we get 4x cubed plus 28x squared minus 32x. So the first thing that I notice is that x is cubed, so I'm going to have 3 answers, and I need to take out the GCF. Well, I can take out a 4x out of everything. So the 4x comes out front, and we're left with x squared. 28 divided by 4 is 7x, and then negative 32 divided by 4 is negative 8, and that's equal to 0. Now, we're not done because I still have to factor this, okay? So I'm going to do some of this side work over here. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get to negative 8 and add to get to a positive 7. I'm going to move this just up here. And those numbers are going to be what? Yeah, negative 1 and 8. So when I start to factor this off to the side, we have x squared minus 1x plus 8x minus 8. So my GCF of the first group is an x. The x comes out front, and we're left with x minus 1. The GCF of the back is a positive 8. And then when we divide it all out, we get x minus 1, which is beautiful because the x minus 1 is our first binomial, and then we're left with x plus 8 as our second. So we have the 4x, x minus 1, and then our other binomial of x plus 8 all equal to 0. Okay, so everything with a variable gets set equal to 0. So we have 4x equaling 0, x minus 1 equal to 0, and then x plus 8 equals 0. So our first one, we divide both sides by 4, we get x equals 0. Our middle one, we would have to add 1 to both sides, so we get x equals 8. And our last one, in pink, we would have to subtract 8 to both sides, and we get that x equals negative 8. So my three final answers in numerical order are negative 8, 0, and 1. Okay, just remember we have to keep our side work organized. Okay, I think that's the hardest part. All right, number 3. So, ugh, both of these are negative. Yucky. So when both of them are negative, I'm going to move the smaller one. Okay, so that's going to be the negative 8m squared. So when I add it to the other side, it'll turn to a positive. And then we need to add the 2. Everything on the right cancels, and we get 0. So negative 7 plus 8 is a positive m squared minus 3m plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so there's no GCF. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get to 2, but add to get to negative 3. What are those going to be? Yeah, it's just negative 1 and negative 2. Okay, remember that it has to work in both cases. I'm going to do my side work over here, m squared minus 1m minus 2m plus 2, because we have to factor it before we can figure out what our answers are. And then why don't we let you guys do this? So go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so you should have broken that down to m minus 1, m minus 2 equals 0. And then everything with the variable we set equal to 0. So we set the m minus 1 equal to 0, the m minus 2 equal to 0, and then we get our two answers of 1 and 2. And we put those answers in numerical order. All right, number 4. Okay, I found our leading coefficient. It's positive, so I'm going to move everything to the left side. Everything on the right cancels. And then we're left with p squared plus 1p minus negative 9 plus 3 is 6. Okay, so I'm checking for a GCF and I don't see one. So I need numbers that multiply to get to negative 6 and add to get to 1. What are they? Yeah, it's 2 and 3, but one of them has to be negative. That's right, negative 2. Okay, so now that I found that it works in both cases, you guys are in charge of the rest of the problem. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so there's all my work. Splitting the middle term, our two binomials were p minus 2 and p plus 3. And then I get my final answers of p minus 3 and 2. All right, number 5. Okay, let's start doing this together. Now, there's my leading coefficient because it's positive. That one's negative. I don't want to deal with it. So to make it a positive, I'm going to add it to the other side. We just have to be careful about our signs over here, where that's equal to 0. And remember that on the top, that's 1. So 1 plus 5 is 6a squared. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11a. Plus 4 equals 0. Okay, so is there a GCF? All right, so 6 times 4 is 24. So numbers that multiply to get to 24, but add to get to negative 11. 24 is a tricky one. There are lots of factors, so I'm just going to write them all down. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So which one's going to get us to negative 11? Yeah, 3 and 8. Okay, it's got to be negative 3 and negative 8, so that works for the top. Does it work for the bottom? Does it work for the top? Yep. All right, so we got to factor this. We have 6a squared minus 3a minus 8a plus 4. All right, so the GCF of the first group, I can take out a 3 and an a. So the 3a comes out front. 3 divided by 3 is 2a minus 1. Okay, so the GCF back here of negative 8 and 4, well, it's negative, and then I can take out a 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is a positive 2, and then 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So we get 2a minus 1, and then our other binomial is 3a minus 4. So my next step would show the 2a minus 1 and the 3a minus 4, and remember the order doesn't matter for that. Okay, and then everything with a variable we would set equal to 0, so I'm just going to keep doing my side work over here. So 2a minus 1 equals 0 and 3a minus 4 equal to 0. Why don't you guys solve that and pause the video. Okay, and my answers are a equals 1/2 and 4/3, and yes, those are in numerical order. If you don't know which one's smaller, just type them into your calculator. All right, now the bottom part. It's important to read the directions, okay? It's just saying factor completely, right? There are no equal signs here, so we are not solving this, okay? Now, number 6. The first thing that we always check for is there a GCF, okay? And yes, there is. I can divide everything by 2. The 2 comes out front, and then we're left with 35 AU plus 56 divided by 2 is 28 AV plus 30 XU plus 24 XV. Okay, so I know that. I don't want to forget about my 2 in my final answer, so there's my 2, and I know I'm going to have 2 binomials as my final answer. So there we go. And remember, you can use box or you can split the middle term. It's however you want to do it. Okay, so let's look at the first group, 35 and 28. This is why it's important to know your times tables. I know that 7 goes into both of those and they both have a A. So the 7A comes out front. 35 divided by 7 is 5U because the A's cancel. And 28 divided by 7 is 4 and the A's cancel. V. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to, I forgot that I'll have a little bit more room. So there's my answer. Too bad you guys can't do that. So 30 and 24, I can take out a, it's higher than 2, guys. Good, I can take out a 6. And then they both have a x. So it's a positive 6x. And then what we're left over, 30 divided by 6 is 5. The x's cancel, and we're left with a u. 24 divided by 6 is 4. My x's cancel, and I'm left with the v. And guess what? Yeah, that's exactly what we needed. The 5u plus 4v. And then we take the 7a plus 6x. And remember, the order doesn't matter, except, yeah, the GCF goes out front. Okay? All right. Number 7. All right, is there a GCF for number 7? No. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get to negative 14 and add to get to negative 5. Yeah, it's going to be something with 2 and 7, but which one's negative? Yeah, the 7 is. Okay, now remember, there's no equal sign here. All right, so all we have to do is factor. Oh, it's not plus 7m. It's oh, it's supposed to be plus 2. Negative 7mn minus 14n squared. Okay, so you guys are all on your own. Pause the video and good luck. Okay, and then our final answer is m plus 2n, m minus 7n. If you have any questions on that, come and ask. Okay? All right, number 8. All right, now a lot of you guys might be like, well, it's a quadratic binomial with subtraction, so I can take square roots. Take out the GCF first, guys, come on. All right, so 2 can go into both of those. The 2 comes out front, and then I'm left with 25x squared minus 9y squared. Now it's a quadratic binomial with subtraction, and I can take the square roots, okay? So I'm going to take the square root of 25x squared, and that's going to be a 5x. One's a plus, one's a minus. And now the square root of 9y squared is 3y. So we get our final answer of 2. And then 5x plus 3y, 5x minus 3y. And there's no equal sign, so we're done. All right, number 9. Remember, the first thing we always do is check for the GCF, okay? I can divide everything by 3. And when we do that, we're left with 27x cubed plus 8y cubed. Now, if you recognize this, this is going to be the sum of 2 cubes. okay? So when we take the cubed root of this, we get 3x and 2y, okay? So I'm not forgetting about my GCF. And remember, all we're doing is following the pattern, okay? We get plus, plus, okay? The first one is just the 3x and the 2y. And then we have 3x times 3x, which gives us 9x squared. We do 3x times 2y. 3 times 2 is 6, and then we just combine the variables. And then the last one is the 2y times 2y, which gives us 4y squared. And that's our final answer. Remember, all we're doing is following a pattern for that. Okay, well, that is your review. Now, if you have any questions or you need extra help, please come find Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra 2 7.5 Cumulative Review. Thanks for watching.